Imagine waking up in a Canada where rent prices are finally cracking, not rising, and entire cities are watching their once red-hot markets cool faster than anyone expected. Fresh national housing data is showing vacancy jumps, stalled rent growth, and new rental supply flooding in so quickly that some landlords are now offering incentives just to fill empty units. You won't believe which major city is suddenly slipping toward a slowdown after years of bidding wars and record demand. And before we dive into the top 10 places where the rental market is collapsing the fastest, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Number 10. Winniepeg, Manitoba. Winnipeg is one of those cities that look stable on the surface, yet underneath, the rental market is shifting in a way locals haven't seen in more than a decade. Big, busy, and historically tight, but now vacancy signs are quietly returning to neighborhoods that were full just a year ago. 2026 estimated population about 784,000, area 179 square miles, people per square mile approximately 4,380, vacancy rate around 4.6%, annual rent increase trend falling toward 2%. Winnipeg's winters remain some of the harshest in the country. Feels like minus 35 degrees Celsius days stretch deep into the season, and long cold snaps keep people indoors more than anywhere else on the prairies. These extremes don't directly collapse a rental market, but they do push many residents to think twice before committing to long-term stays, especially when newer suburbs can offer more comfort for lower cost. Employment reports show an unemployment rate hovering around 6%, slightly higher than earlier years. Manufacturing output has softened, office jobs are stabilizing rather than growing, and fewer newcomers are arriving compared to 2021 to 2023. Slower economic momentum means slower rental demand, even as units keep coming online. Winnipeg saw a surge of new rentals built between 2023 and 2026, roughly 6,000 plus units completed across the metro area. Transit improvements are ongoing, but energy bills during the long winter months remain higher than many renters expect. As more modern buildings compete for tenants, incentives like free first-month rent are becoming common. Winnipeg still delivers festivals, arts, parks, and strong community culture. It remains more affordable than major metros, and its slow pace appeals to many. But the balance is shifting, and in 2026, Winnipeg is one of the clearest examples of supply rising faster than renters can fill it.
Number 9. Regina, Saskatchewan. Regina is a mid-sized city with a big personality, wide skies, friendly communities, and a surprising cultural scene. Yet behind the scenes, 2026 has turned into a year where the rental market feels heavier than usual, with empty units lingering longer and new construction outpacing demand. 2026 estimated. Population, about 266,000. Area, 69 square miles. People per square mile, around 3,850. Vacancy rate, around 7.4%. Annual rent growth trend, dropping near 1%. Regina's winters are cold, dry, and wide open. Long stretches of minus 25 degrees Celsius mornings, strong prairie winds, and shorter daylight hours that make commuting a challenge. Hot summers balance it somewhat, but the dramatic seasonal swings shape the overall appeal of long-term renting. The job market has been steady but not fast-growing. Resource industries fluctuate, and recent reports show unemployment floating near 6.3%. Population growth has cooled, with fewer inter-provincial migrants than in the post-2021 peak years. A market that once relied on steady inflows is suddenly seeing flat demand. Regina's rental construction boom added thousands of units over the last 3 years. Meanwhile, living costs remain manageable, but wage growth hasn't kept up with the new build price tags. Transit is improving, but car-dependent layouts still dominate, making outer neighborhoods less appealing for renters who want walkability. There's still plenty to love: low congestion, big green parks, a tight-knit local culture, and strong affordability compared to urban centers further west or east. But most renters are cautious, waiting to see how the surplus of new units affect prices. Regina enters 2026 as one of Canada's clearest examples of high vacancy and cooling demand, a market with plenty of space but fewer takers. Number 8. St. John, New Brunswick. St. John is a coastal city with charm, history, and some of the most dramatic landscapes in Atlantic Canada. But beneath that postcard exterior, 2026 has marked a quiet shift in the rental market. A place that recently struggled with near-zero vacancy is now experiencing rising emptiness in buildings that used to fill instantly. 2026 estimated. Population, about 142,000. Area, 126 square miles. People per square mile, around 1,125. Vacancy rate, around 2.9%. Annual rent growth, slowing toward 2 to 3%. St. John's coastal climate brings foggy mornings, windy afternoons, and longer stretches of damp cold than inland cities. Winters are milder than the prairies, but feel heavier due to the humidity. Storm surges and heavy rainfall weeks don't directly shift housing demand, but they do influence how comfortable long-term renting feels, especially in older housing stock. The port is still the economic heartbeat of the region, but job creation has been modest. Employment levels are stable, with unemployment hovering near 6.3%, and some younger workers continue moving to larger centers for broader opportunities. Interprovincial migration, which boosted the city in 2021 to 2023, has cooled noticeably. This slowdown directly pulls down rental demand, leaving landlords with more empty rooms than expected. Home building activity increased sharply over the last few years, rising roughly 25 to 30%, and many of those units are now entering the market at the same time. Living costs remain reasonable, but wage growth hasn't kept up with the new build rental prices. Public transit is limited, and commuters often rely on cars, making certain neighborhoods less attractive to renters without vehicles. St. John is picturesque, peaceful, and offers nature access within minutes. Its waterfront, trails, and tight-knit community are still major draws. But in 2026, supply is catching up faster than demand, turning St. John into one of Atlantic Canada's quiet rental cooldown zones.
Number 7. Sudbury, Ontario. Sudbury has long been a rugged northern hub, a city built on mines, lakes, and a strong working-class identity. But the 2026 rental landscape tells a different story: rising vacancies, slower population growth, and a market adjusting after years of pressure from students and transient workers. 2026 estimated population, about 171,000. Area, 1,246 square miles. People per square mile, about 137. Vacancy rate, around 3.7%. Annual rent growth, easing to 2%. Sudbury's winters stretch long and hard, thick snow cover, frozen lakes, and weeks where temperatures dip below -20 degrees Celsius. Summers are warm but short. The climate isn't the cause of the rental slowdown, but it shapes the type of rentals people prefer, pushing many toward newer, better insulated builds, while older units sit vacant longer. Mining remains Sudbury's backbone, but 2026 has brought softer output and fewer large-scale projects. Employment figures show unemployment drifting around 6%, and student populations, which once held up a big share of rentals, have not fully rebounded to pre-2020 levels. With fewer newcomers arriving each year, the market simply isn't absorbing new supply the way it once did. Many of Sudbury's rentals are older buildings with high heating costs, a major factor in long winters. Meanwhile, new purpose-built rentals have entered the market at a faster pace than demand. The city's size spreads commute times out, and transit remains limited, making certain areas harder to rent out. Sudbury still offers stunning nature, clean lakes, hiking trails, and a quieter lifestyle than southern Ontario's busier metros. For niche renters, the city remains appealing. But in 2026, Sudbury stands out as a place where cooling demand and steady new supply are pushing vacancies upward, a northern rental market in transition.
Number 6. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Saskatoon is one of the fastest-growing prairie cities of the past decade, but 2026 is revealing a new phase in its rental cycle. After years of tight markets and bidding pressure, the balance has shifted. Empty units are sitting longer, rent growth is slowing, and a wave of new buildings is entering the market at the same time as demand cools. 2026 estimated. Population about 354,000. Area 91 square miles. People per square mile approximately 3,890. Vacancy rate around 5.8%. Annual rent growth slowing toward 3 to 3.5%. Saskatoon's weather is classic prairie. Freezing winters with -30 degrees Celsius nights, dry air, and sharp temperature drops that can hit suddenly. Summers bring sunshine and warmth, but the city's long winter season influences the rental experience heavily. Older buildings with weaker insulation struggle to compete against new, energy-efficient rentals, leaving some units empty for months. The labor market has been steady rather than booming. The local tech scene grew quickly from 2019 to 2023, but has since cooled, while agricultural and resource-related sectors continue to fluctuate. Unemployment trends show levels hovering around 5.9%, and population inflows have slowed compared to the peaks seen during the post-2020 migration wave. This softer economic environment means slower renter demand. Saskatoon has seen a large increase in purpose-built rental construction. Thousands of units completed over recent years are now hitting the market at once. Living costs remain manageable, but utilities in winter remain high, especially in older rentals. Transit improvements are gradual, and many renters still rely on vehicles, affecting the desirability of certain neighborhoods. The city offers great riverfront trails, vibrant summer festivals, and strong community life. Outdoor lovers appreciate the landscape and pace of living. But in 2026, Saskatoon's rental story is all about supply outpacing demand, a market adjusting after years of rapid expansion.
Number 5. Kelowna, British Columbia. Kelowna is famous for lake views and sunny summers, a hybrid of resort town beauty and fast-growing urban life. But behind the postcard scenery, the 2026 rental market is facing a noticeable shift. New buildings are rising everywhere. Population growth has cooled slightly, and rental competition isn't what it used to be. 2026 estimated population about 238,000. Area 84 square miles. People per square mile 2,830. Vacancy rate around 1.3 to 1.5%, double early 2020s levels. Annual rent growth easing toward 3 to 4%. Kelowna enjoys hot, dry summers and mild winters compared to the rest of Canada. But wildfire seasons have added unpredictability. Smoky days and evacuation scares don't directly collapse a rental market, yet they influence how long-term renters think about stability, especially those with families. Kelowna's economy leans on tourism, services, healthcare, and construction. Job growth has slowed slightly in 2026 as travel patterns stabilize and housing projects catch up with demand. Unemployment sits around 5.5%, and fewer out-of-province workers are arriving compared to earlier post-pandemic years. This softer inflow reduces the pressure on rentals. Kelowna has been building non-stop for several years. Thousands of new rentals and condos have been completed or are nearing completion, creating a wave of available units. Living costs remain high, especially rents relative to local incomes, and transportation is car-focused, which affects renters seeking walkable neighborhoods. The large supply bump is making the biggest impact. Landlords now compete more aggressively to attract tenants. Despite the cooling market, Kelowna remains stunning. Lakeside living, wineries, trails, and an outdoorsy culture still draw many. But in 2026, rising supply and a slightly slower economy are reshaping Kelowna's rental market, turning a once ultra-tight city into a more balanced, even competitive environment. Number 4. London, Ontario. London has been one of Ontario's fastest-growing mid-sized cities for years, boosted by students, newcomers, and spillover migration from the GTA. But by 2026, the rental picture is shifting dramatically. Vacancy rates are climbing, incentives are returning, and the wave of construction that started earlier in the decade is now landing all at once at a time when demand has cooled. 2026 estimated population about 442,000. Area 163 square miles. People per square mile 2,730. Vacancy rate around 3.5 to 3.8%. Annual rent growth slipping toward 2%. London's weather swings from snowy winters to humid, thunderstorm-heavy summers. While the climate isn't the cause of the rental slowdown, its wet winters and freeze-thaw cycles can raise heating and maintenance costs in older rentals. As more renters prioritize modern insulation, older units struggle to stay competitive. The job market has slowed after years of rapid expansion. The steady healthcare and education sectors remain strong, but tech hiring has cooled, and manufacturing output is stabilizing rather than booming. Unemployment trends sit around 6%, and fewer new renters are arriving compared to 2021 to 2023 peaks. London has had one of the highest construction booms among mid-sized cities. Thousands of purpose-built rentals and high-rise units are finishing simultaneously, creating a sudden surge of supply. Living costs remain moderate, but transportation is still car-centric, and transit expansion is slow to catch up with sprawl. Landlords have begun offering discounts, flexible leases, and free parking to attract tenants. London still offers a strong university scene, green spaces, a growing downtown, and far lower rents than major Ontario metros, which keeps it appealing to some renters. But in 2026, the big story is oversupply and cooling demand, pushing London firmly into rental market reset territory.
Number 3. Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax was one of Canada's hottest rental markets from 2020 to 2023, with bidding wars and almost non-existent vacancy. But by 2026, the tide is turning. Rising supply, slower population growth, and shifting economic patterns are easing the once intense pressure on renters, revealing cracks in a city that seemed untouchable just a few years ago. 2026 estimated population 494,000. Area 2,000 square miles. People per square mile 247. Vacancy rate increasing toward 2.5%. Annual rent growth slowing toward 3%. Halifax's coastal climate brings long, damp winters, powerful ocean storms, and unpredictable wind systems that can hit hard during fall and winter months. While not a direct cause of rental shifts, these conditions become part of the long-term equation for renters choosing between new builds, older stock, or suburban alternatives. The local job market has stabilized rather than expanded. Government and military hiring remain reliable, but tech and professional services have cooled from earlier peaks. Reports show unemployment trending near 5.7%, and population growth, once driven by massive interprovincial inflows, has slowed significantly from the surge of 2021 to 2023. With fewer newcomers, rental demand naturally eases. Halifax has seen a major building boom, with thousands of rental units completed between 2023 and 2026. Many of these new builds are clustered in the downtown core, Bedford, and the peninsula, creating pockets of concentrated supply. Living costs remain high, especially in newer units, but landlords are beginning to compete again, something unheard of a few years ago. Transit is improving slowly, but the city's spread-out geography still challenges walkability. Halifax remains vibrant. Ocean views, university life, culture, and a strong food scene continue drawing people in. It's one of Canada's most livable coastal cities, but by 2026, the once ultra-tight market is easing, and Halifax is entering a new, more balanced rental era. Number 2. Toronto. Toronto's energetic streets and towering skyscrapers suggest opportunity, but behind the buzz, renters face a market spiraling faster than expected. Imagine waiting months for an apartment while rent climbs every week. 2026 estimated population 3,100,000. Area 243 square miles, 12,760 people per square mile. Median home price $1,150,000. Unemployment rate 5.8%. Winters are cold with regular snowfall averaging 115 centimeters per year, and summers bring occasional heat waves over 30 degrees Celsius. Temperature extremes impact heating bills and commuting costs. Finance, IT, and healthcare dominate, but wage growth lags behind housing inflation. Many tenants juggle multiple jobs or rely on contract work, creating financial pressure even with full-time employment. Public transit is extensive but aging, causing frequent delays. Energy and transport costs are high, while rents continue to climb beyond median income growth. Internet and mobile coverage are strong. Toronto offers diverse dining, nightlife, and cultural hubs. Museums and sports teams draw residents and tourists alike, but the city's vibrancy comes with a steep financial price that keeps long-term renters on edge.
Even with its endless entertainment and career prospects, Toronto's rental crunch makes staying a constant challenge for many families and young professionals.
Number 1. Vancouver. Vancouver's stunning skyline and coastal views make it a dream for many, but the rental market is teetering on the edge, leaving even well-paid residents scrambling. Imagine paying sky-high rent for a tiny apartment and still feeling squeezed every month. 2026 estimated population 675,000, area 115 square miles, people per square mile 5,870, median home price $1,250,000, unemployment rate 6.2%. Vancouver enjoys mild winters and moderate summers, but heavy rainfall, over 50 inches a year, keeps streets damp and can raise heating costs. Storm surges occasionally threaten low-lying neighborhoods, adding a hidden cost to living here. High demand for tech, film, and tourism jobs drives growth, but rental price spikes outpace wages. Young professionals often face multiple short-term contracts, creating instability even in a booming economy. Public transit is available but often crowded. Gas and electricity prices are above the national average. Internet and cell service are reliable, but the real pinch comes from housing. Even a modest one-bedroom can cost over $2,000 per month. Beaches, parks, and cultural festivals make Vancouver attractive to visitors. Low crime and access to outdoor activities are perks, but few can afford to stay long-term without financial strain. Even with its beauty, Vancouver's high rents and living costs push residents to seek more affordable options elsewhere. Which city shocked you the most? Hit that like button if you're surprised. Share this video so others know what's coming in 2026, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates on Canada's housing market. You won't want to miss what's next.